on my face. I probably still have paint in my hair. The candy dishes are back there. Do you need one? You're just gonna give them to the kids?
Yeah. Hey, if any of the kiddos back here wasn't candy, then it's okay with.
They're in their teeth.
Here, ready?
They want to go through that time too. Oh, is it a treat after we, instead of after?
Get them hyped on sugar on the way home.
So get this up. So what I
All right, we are going to go ahead and get the meeting to order. We're going to stand and do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We will do roll call.
Townsend.
Present.
Mock.
Present.
Williams present. Malcolm.
Here.
Pat present.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
Yeah.
Okay. You may.
I was hoping next year we could have some kind of a workshop to teach people to have more honesty and integrity. Being honest and having integrity, I think, is two of the most important qualities you can have. I would come in, I would love to work with people, because, I'm not perfect in a lot of ways, but being honest and having integrity, I think is so important. And I even have the 10 commandments, not lying is very important, to not lie. I mean, the whole situation would be completely changed if you just tell the truth. If you tell the truth, things seem to work out a lot better. You just don't, just manipulate situations. This is not good. I actually got one for the transportation director, and I got one for you, Mr. Stover.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you put it in your office, I think it might help you be more honest, because you weren't honest this whole year. And please give one to the transportation director.
No, that's
No, we're
not.
not, that is not what's taking place.
You've never contacted me. I asked you to contact me. I needed help, and you never did. So you've not been honest either. So you guys need to have some integrity. You don't have any, zero. It's very important to have integrity. That's all I want to say. If you have anything you want me to do next year, I would love to help people. I'd love to help you.
Yeah.
Because it's important to just tell the truth and don't lie.
Thank
That's all it takes.
Thank you for your comment.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to claims. We've got the claims in front of you. You guys have any questions or comments about those?
I had some questions.
Oh, well,
Let me go right ahead.
do you want to?
Just stating that they're good, yeah. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Well, it's after claims.
Oh, his is backwards.
Let's go A minutes for
There we go.
Let's go A
It's
minutes.
fixed.
Yeah, yep.
Mine say claims first.
I know, so sort of Mike.
Have you changed it? We're good.
All right, minutes. We need to,
Make it.
make a motion to approve the minutes. Actually, we do this all together. so
Okay.
I don't know. So, all right, any comments about minutes? Okay, moving on to claims.
I think you.
Back to the claims. I did have a few, and nothing, just to talk about them a little bit there. Andy, if you go to page 5, and we go down a little bit, Muncie Farm and Fleet. bus repairs and maintenance.
Okay. Yes.
My main question on that there, I thought that we wasn't gonna do the warranty part. And I see a bill like this right here, did that still put us ahead of not doing the warranty?
Yeah, so very good question, and, so Carrie's asking a question about the warranty, we chose not to do the warranty, well, that was in the spring, around this time last year, correct? So we chose not to do the warranty, the cost of the maintenance we've had for the buses is very minimal in comparison to that policy, so honestly, I think, what was it, Carrie, $5,000 on here?
It was a little over 5,000, well, close to 6, but yes.
And those are general updates to the bus fleet, so that's a fraction of the cost we would look at if
Okay.
you're actually paying for that, for the year service, so.
I just didn't know if there was other ones there. When I saw that number there, I thought this would be a good time to ask.
Yeah, very much so.
Same page, go all the way down to the bottom. We have sight and sound, close to $10,000 for the auditorium. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, that is actually half of the price for Sight and Sound, so, one thing we've been doing a really good job with, is our theater. We've had a lot of plays this year, so I actually had a teacher come to me, our sound equipment wasn't the best in our auditorium. So one thing that they discussed was, actually getting new mic packs for everybody. With the big play coming up, which was a week and a half ago, they wanted to make sure they had mics and everything. So we actually got a new head unit, that actually went into the rack, behind the scenes, and they can actually have wireless connectivity up to like 100 devices. So it's really neat. It's really helped out the play, and I think the students and staff were really appreciative of that.
And you said this was for half of?
Yeah, it was a $20,000 price
Okay.
tag on it. So in the fall, we had a lot of teachers that had submitted the Betty Clark Fund. And there was a couple of them that were great applications, but I was like, if we're gonna go through the bond process, this would be a really good bond project.
Mhm.
So that's where I allocated the 20,000 to go towards that, to just bolster our audio equipment.
Good. Which I did attend the play, and it was incredible as far as the sound. Next one, you go to page 6, and we go down to Keeley Flooring. We have a couple of invoices there totaling 45,000. What was that as far as the project itself?
Yeah, so as we procured our most recent geo bond in the fall, this fell under that project. So one thing that we're doing, in the fall, we had the opportunity to update the carpet in every one of the classrooms throughout the elementary. But the issue is we only have a carpet square that's 15 by 15 maybe? If that's probably over exaggerated, but we have a 15 by 15 section of carpet where all the kids sit down when they read. Well, when we put the new carpet in, you realize how bad the tile was throughout. So what we're gonna do over the summer is update every classroom throughout the elementary. So right now we have new carpet, but now what we're gonna do is we're gonna match the new tile with the carpet that we have down. So
Okay.
it's gonna take 2 months, but we'll have every one of the classrooms throughout the elementary updated. And then we're doing 6, what's that? 10 in the middle school. That's what I was getting at. 5 middle school, 5 high school. And what I'm trying to do is put in a plan where we have, really a 5, 10, 15-year plan with replacement. I know I'm overhauling elementary. That was the biggest need. And what we're doing at the middle school, high school is we're gonna knock out 5 each year. And then just so we're not in a situation where we have to buy all new carpet everywhere. So I'm trying to get on a yearly plan. So as we see this, yeah, we're gonna knock out the elementary, and then the high school, middle school will be the next step in that plan.
Good, thank you. If we go to page 7, down there, Robert Smith Construction, we had $8,800 for a elementary fence, which I assume it's at the elementary.
Yeah, and this is a project we didn't necessarily know that we needed at the time, but unfortunately we had a couple escapees at the elementary, and so we have our campus behind the elementary is enclosed by a fence with the exception of the west side. So when the kids can go out that way, so if you have a chance to go to elementary, on the west side, there's a little road goes back there. We have a gate, a fence, and that kind of stops the kids from running through Gaston.
Yeah.
It didn't happen all the time, but it was a safety concern.
If we jump all the way to page 10, and I'm just double checking, and I'm going to assume, we go down to Delaware County Treasurer. $1,200. Is this stormwater
I'm gonna have to look at it. I don't know if it's a ditch, it might be even a ditch assessment.
Ditch assessment should be $10, on that there.
It's low, so
Yeah.
that,
I just want to make sure, because of what we had in the past.
it's $1,213.
Yeah.
Let me double check the treasurer, I'll get back with you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's low though.
Then basically we're down to the last one for me there. Tell me what, it's Secure Tech Solutions, 24,000. Same page 10, just down a little bit towards the bottom there.
Okay, yeah, so, one thing that, from a technology perspective that we had to overhaul, we have hit the life expectancy for all of our Chromebooks district-wide. So opposed to taking on the approach of, updating all the Chromebooks and buying them all right now, I'm trying to get to where we have, I guess, a step system. So right now we're looking at purchasing, enough Chromebooks for K through 5. And the intent for the Chromebook charging stations is, we've had a lot of damages to Chromebooks, things like that. So the idea is having a Chromebook station for each one of the teachers to be able to stow the Chromebooks in there. And the other thing is, we've been asking teachers to tether together, extension cords and all kinds of stuff. We've had the fire marshal in a couple times. We got Dean from the fire marshal for said extension cord. So I'm just trying to find a good solution for the teachers so they can stow it and push it away.
Okay. And I did say that was the last one, but I do have one more, I'm sorry. Right below that one is Simon's Roof Maintenance Repair, and that was for $5,000. Is that something that's gonna go towards insurance, or is that just, we're gonna pay for that and that's it, or is there more to that project?
Yeah, unfortunately, in mid-March, we had some wind damage on the district. So we're going through an insurance claim right now. Our insurance provider is S-Crift. And basically what took place was we have a rubber membrane on our roof. The wind has blown the rubber membrane and separated from the roof. And on the days we have a lot of wind, I was driving past and the top of our high school roof looked like a waterbed. So we're working with contractors right now. Simmons Roofing is one. So this is for the elementary. There's a small amount of damage that they can do on their own. So they have taken care of that. I'm submitting that claim to insurance in addition to the high school roof and some exterior lighting we have on the parking lot. So if you've driven past the school in the morning or night and you notice there's no lights, it's because the wind blew out one of the lights and snapped the electrical line. So we're trying to get that fixed too. So right now we've got 3 different areas that we're looking on insurance claim, and this is going to be a sizable claim as we get through this. So I'll keep you guys in tune to kind of what that looks like as we progress.
And that was it. Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
We've got some personnel recommendations for you to look at. And if there's no further questions or comments, we will go ask for the approval of consent agenda items A through C.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda items have been approved. Don't have any old business. Moving on to new business, we've got some elementary school recognitions going on tonight.
Yes, so first up will be Oliver with a perfect IRE score. And that's really neat for a couple of reasons, because he's in 2nd grade, and that is a 3rd grade test. So that was the only perfect score in the building this year. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he is following sister's footsteps years ago, who also, I'm sure she has. So that is pretty unique to have siblings both score perfect. So we wanted to just recognize him and congratulate him on that scoring perfect in 2nd grade. Speech?
Well, Oliver, we're very impressed with you. I think I speak for everybody on the board. We're impressed. A perfect score, 2nd grade, that's incredible. And all the pressure the 2nd, 3rd graders go through on the test, we all know it. It's a tough test. And obviously, you're a really smart young man. So keep up the good work. I'll probably get your autograph later, okay?
Right, all right. And then I've also got a couple of fourth graders here this evening. Addison and Bentley are here to share their fourth grade statehood essays. They're going to read those. Do you want to speak just briefly on what all was involved with the essay? Any of the fourth grade teachers stand?
I can. Yeah, so every fall, the state of Indiana does an essay contest for fourth graders, and the topic varies from year to year. Just about our great state and what's to explore in our state, or how ways you can play in our state, just anything that has to do with Indiana. So for the last couple of years, we've submitted essays, and we've got some finalists along the way, and then this year we have 2 that we'd like to share with you.
Who wants to read first?
Addison or Beth? Which one we got?
Go ahead.
You stand right there, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you just ask you to stand right there, you're good to go.
Deep breath.
What did you write yours on?
Indiana.
Tell them now.
I wrote my essay about Indiana. Have you ever smelled the bitter smell of smoke bombs going off before the job? Or the clicking cleats on concrete? Well, lucky for you, the Indiana soccer team has both. Indiana is a great place to explore because we have a soccer team close by, so you don't have to travel to a whole other continent to watch a game. I have explored Indiana by going to an Indiana 11 boys game with my family. It was cool to explore Indiana this way because I got to meet the players, have them sign my poster, and watch it in real life instead of on television. It was way cooler. Did you know that Indy Elephant's mascot is a dog? Actually, 2 dogs. Their name is Zeke and Zeke Jr. Their numbers on the jersey are number 10. Other ways people can explore Indiana is by visiting Marengo Cave, going to a Bulls game, or even listening to visiting some fun festivals. I've been to some like Mississippi 1812. It is a reenactment of the battle that took place there. Fun fact is back then Indy 11 Stadium was Lucas Oil Stadium, but now they have their own Michael A. Carl Stadium. The mic for sure. Now that you have heard a few cool things in Indiana that you can experience, hope you visit sometime.
They should definitely send you some hot tickets.
Yeah.
Email them tomorrow.
Shameless plug. The 11th, yeah. All right, Bentley.
Hello, my name is Aaron Curley. Let me tell you how I love sport in Indiana. I love the Pacers. You should go to a game. They are very good. I have been to one with my grandpa and my 2 cousins. The Indiana Zoo has cute and neat animals. The tigers there are fun to watch. I love going to the zoo, and this is why I ranked it as second place. It's better than the Fort Wayne Zoo, in my opinion. Shh, don't tell anyone. Holiday World is awesome. They have water parks, arcades, a playground, and roller coasters. It is awesome. I would enjoy this place a lot. Indiana is a great place, and you should try to come. It's a chill place where the schools are enjoyable. There's football, basketball, and even baseball. Thanks for taking the tour of Indiana. The Pacers are very good, but this is the last sentence. They started in 1967. That was a long time ago. Tell me what your favorite sport is. Goodbye.
Yeah, we should get some Pacers tickets for
Yeah.
that. Email them tomorrow.
Thank you so much. That was very good. We appreciate you coming in and sharing this with us.
Yeah. So congratulations. And since you guys have already presented, you're more than welcome to leave right now. The meeting's a little long, and you guys don't have to stay if you don't want to, okay?
Welcome to, buddy. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
And grab a piece of candy.
Yeah, and there's candy back there if anybody wants it. Yeah. But thank you so much. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations.
Yes, thanks for coming out. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Shocking that they congratulations.
I mean, he knows you're in there, we're fine. They don't usually want to say.
Our topic's not as,
As riveting as, yeah.
But I'm going to take it.
Well, let's see the free tickets, I don't know what they'll be to.
so we're really honored tonight to have Dr. Bess here, Todd Bess. He is the Executive Director of the Indiana Association of School Principals, overseeing roughly over 2,900 principals across the state. And he does a lot for the association, travels across the state, conferences, meetings, regional meetings. And I was listening to a podcast, and he was actually doing the podcast, and they were talking about school accountability, giving us updates. And at the end, he said, I wouldn't mind if you stop by schools if you'd like to have me come and just present to your school boards. And I thought, a great idea. It'd be great to have him here and just be able to meet him. He does a lot with our school principals here in our district. So we're honored to have Dr. Todd Bess. So thanks for coming. We really appreciate it.
Easy, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, and obviously we were honored here to have Todd, right? He's the rock star.
We're on an embarrassment tour all year.
I know we've had one more chance at recognizing him. But I do appreciate your time here tonight. I know it's very valuable. I was in central office for 4 years at Twin Lakes and Monticello, so I know the work that you do very personally as a board as well. This is usually like an hour presentation, and we are certainly not going to get into those level of details and things, but thought it would be helpful just to see kind of what pieces and parts go into what a school grade is going to look like. And then, as questions come up, if you've got anything tonight or certainly through superintendent or principal's things, I'm glad to answer those however we might need to as well. So
Appreciate it.
yeah, so we'll just kind of click through here a few things. So I emailed this to them and so you can provide it and you can look through things as well. And they've heard me many times say this, so I won't go into those kinds of details, but just so you got a few resources there. The rule itself, unfortunately, is one of those really important details. It's like 30 pages of legal language. So it's a lot of fun. Trust me on that. We'll flip through the next one there. These are straight DOE kinds of slides. And just included them from the standpoint of it's important to know how this was all built, right? Those are your GPS metrics that are on your dashboard, right? They're going to be on your website. So that's how they tried to look at building this new accountability system. I'm not sure your board tenures, but 2019 was the last time we had grades. So when you're thinking about how are those done, right? It's very different this time. And so trying to relate what those grades look like to what they're looking like now is going to be entirely different. So one of those biggest differences looks like this. And please help me out, Todd. You're K5, right? Okay, right? And then you've got middle school, high school, but is it one school? Yeah. It's right, it's one school. So that's the fun part across the state is we've got all these configurations of schools, but we have these grade spans. So every grade span is going to get a grade. So for Todd's school, he's going to get a K3 grade. And that really is based on pretty much solely I learned and I read. We'll see how that works. Then he's going to pick up a 4-5 grade, even though it says 4 to 8. So you're going to get those two grades. Those get meshed together to become one school grade. Everybody's going, wow. Okay. Don't worry about the calculations. DOE will do it. There'll be lots of tools, right? So then we can see in the 6 to 12 rule, right? Now we're going to get a 6 to 8 grade, and then we're going to get a 9 to 12, 9, 10 grade, 11, 12 grade, and then a school grade. So, right. Then you're going to be unique in how that, and you're going to get a corporation grade. So you'll see how that all works for you. And given that you have just the two schools, it'll be a little simpler. But for schools that have lots of elementaries and lots of other things, right, it's going to go together. So this is the basis for it. For every level, it just depends on how they measure things. So academic mastery, again, if you go back to what that GPS dashboard looked like, right, that was key, which makes sense, right? We want kids to be able to know all the fundamentals of what their grade levels are, right? And then those additional knowledge, skills, and experiences, if you think back to those other 5 characteristics, those other 4 really get measured with those other things. We call those student success indicators, because we love terms in Indiana. In the current system, which we haven't seen since 2019, especially in the K-8 world, it was predicated on what percentage of my school passed I-STEP, I learned at that time. So we were really thinking about how do we get from 79 to 80, 89 to 90, those kinds of things. In this system now, as it says there at the bottom, N sizes 1. Every kid matters. And that's saying it that way makes it seem like right now every kid doesn't matter, and I know they do, right? You're thinking about that. But now every kid is going to accumulate points, no matter where they're at in terms of the spectrum of being able to read or being able to pass ILEARN or to get credits or to graduate as well. So when they're talking about allocating resources and working, staffing wise and things, it's how do we leverage what we're working with to make a difference for every kid. So this is really important too. The anticipated rollout was December. Well, we're here in May. They approved it in March. So kind of as a buffer, because they were building the system while you were doing school and kids were doing all their data, or they were taking all their tests and things, they made this a combination of the grading scale. Normally it's always 90, 80, 70, 60. So you can see now there's a bigger span at the top, and we have our 10-point grade spans. But we know then too that in a few years, we'll probably reach that 90, 80, 70, 60. Because I believe, given the alignment of what the system is measuring to what you're doing in schools, I think we'll see that 25% of schools have a grade of A without too much trouble, especially eventually. So that's the basis for how it works. The next one's kind of go through the different grade spans. So again, if you think back to that slide of what are they measuring, academic mastery is on your left. And it makes sense. Right now, your grade 3 kids take ILEARN. And then those additional student success indicators are listed there. But I double checked with Todd, right? And you're over 90% in IREAD. So that's a huge boon to you as a school corporation in terms of how those success indicators are earned. I don't think, again, different pockets of Indiana have a lot of English learners. I don't believe you have a great deal here in this particular pocket, right? So that's not going to be as important. And that bottom point right there on the, flip back one there. Yep, right. They must pass IREAD to earn additional success indicator. The state went all in, which we've known that, right? On all the IREAD stuff. So here's the grids that I put together, and both of these gentlemen can laugh at this joke because I love a good spreadsheet and I love colors. So all these grids are mine.
Amen.
There we go. You're with me?
I am.
Excellent. Excellent. So we won't worry necessarily about all the different points, but somewhat on a theoretical level, right? Academic mastery is going to have kind of 3 levels, and we can see below, approaching, and at or above. And again, think back to 2019, you were either above or not. Now we see that approaching proficiency mark there. So students that are in a below proficiency world, right, but they're closer, right, and they're gaining on things. Maybe their skills in K1 and 2 weren't as strong, but as they go through your elementary, they get better and better, right? They're going to move up to approaching. And then, so every kid of grade 3, this would be consistent in our other grades, they're going to earn an initial set of points.
Question.
Yes, sir.
So with this data being gathered, and it basically stems upon the school system and how the school system is performing in teaching the students, how is it capable, or is it capable of evaluations of the teachers and their teaching? Is this something that could be utilized for like evaluations on teachers?
To me, that's a
Does that
philosophy.
make sense?
Yeah,
Does that make sense? So-
yeah, your question makes a lot of sense. So it varies depending on district and the conversation of said district. So what you're gonna have is, you have different evaluation models depending on what schools are, and then there's percentages that you play into that. So it could be 80% being classroom instruction, 10% could be the growth measure. Those are conversations that we would have with association and try to figure out where we're at. So that's a good question. Very good question. Right now, currently, we don't have that practice in our evaluation tool, but that's a very good question.
Yeah. I mentioned IRE, and I'll just hit on that for a moment. Again, the good part is you're gonna have lots of kids, right, passing IRE, so that's that success indicator. So at the end of grade 3, if 90% of your kids are passing, 90% of your kids are gonna earn points in that middle column. So, I'll make a few assumptions here. If lots of your kids are either approaching or at or above on iLearn, right, you're either earning 85 or 95 points for your school at grade 3, right? Now, your other success indicator, especially for you as a corporation, is really gonna be attendance. I'll put you on the spot because I know you'll know this too. How many students are passing IRE at the end of grade 2?
Typically around 50.
Okay. Yeah. So if those students are passing IRE at the end of grade 2, then in grade 3, their other success indicator has to be attendance, really. Now, for those other 50% or so, if they're labeled as off track in grade 2, but they pass in grade 3, they move all the way to the right. That's their 2 success indicators. So again, as you're thinking resources, staffing, obviously IRE, I guess, having kids learn how to read, right? Fundamental for success always, but especially in terms of this system, really, really important. That's one of those big levers for you as a corporation. Yep. So they've got it broken into 2 bands, and so you can see 4 to 6. And if you flip to the next one, it looks the same, 7, 8. If we go back to 4, 6, just for a moment there. So again, we got iLearn proficiency, right? No surprise there, and 4 to 6, and also 7, 8. But now in the success indicators you see over there, now is where we get growth. So every student that tests in iLearn in the previous grade, and then tests in the next grade level should have a growth percentile. So if they're making annual growth, that's 1 success indicator. And if they're making more than 1 years of growth, that's 2. And if they're really making accelerated growth, that's 3. So when we see the grid, you'll kind of see here's what that picture looks like. You also do iLearn in 4th, 5th, and 6th. So that could also be proficiency there. You have attendance. And that's in that grade 4 to 6 world. So especially for kids that if your kids are all testing in the previous grade level, right, for iLearn, then growth is going to be your biggest opportunity to earn those success indicators, and then as well attendance as well. And attendance is measured straight. Are they here or are they not? So however you're working with that as a corporation and or general county and or general area, that's really important as well. Yep, so it looks the same. You still have growth because we still do iLearn testing through grade 8. So we're still going to be able to measure that. Couple things here. I think this is, again, I was pleased in some ways with the way this came out because I think it measures what we should be measuring. Yes, we have iLearn proficiency. Yes, we have growth. But in grade 7, a success indicator is completing a graduation plan and then having parents sign off on that. This was one of those last minute, truly, insertions into the rule that is a big win in lots and lots of ways. So System-wise, right, next year especially, you've got that in place. Develop the grad plan, communicate it to parents, they know what's going on, they sign off. And again, all the data is gonna go into your student information system, and then that gets uploaded to the DOE. And then at grade 8, the high school level coursework and credit. So every credit that they can earn, as long as they can earn 2 credits in grade 8, then that is a success indicator as well. So typical student, I'll put it that way, right? They take iLearn, they have annual growth, they're earning a couple of high school credits, and they have good attendance. You're gonna see that a lot, I think, especially for you. I'm making a few assumptions, but I think that's likely the case as well. So if you flip to the next spreadsheet, I think we're getting there. Go ahead and go next. We covered those. So this is what that looks like. Again, point-wise, we see the 3 levels of proficiency. You see the 3 different success indicator columns, right? So again, every student's gonna start at either 90, 45, or 0, and then moving to the right. So we'll take a worst case scenario here. You've got a kid who's below proficient, but they make annual growth, right? Again, they're working at things, but that's just not where they're at right now. And they have good attendance, right? And if they were a 7th grader, you completed the grad plan, well, they've earned 3 success indicators. They're all the way to 75 points. And that's for the state's acknowledgement that not every student is going to be at or above, and they're working at their levels, and they're being successful just in a different way than the student who is the straight A student or the student who's perfect at grade 2 kinds of things. Go to the next one just quickly there, because you will have some kids that don't have a growth percentile. They moved in grade 4. So in grade 3, they didn't test on iLearn, right? So you can't measure growth in grade 4. So then we do have some kids that will be performance only kids. So from all those success indicators, now we're eliminating growth. So now you're focusing on attendance, and you're focusing on 4, 5, and 6. Really, you're focusing on the other iLearn tests as well, kinds of things. Here we go in high school. So we thought elementary and middle was maybe a little complicated. Let's throw into some things, because we're going to get a 9-10 world, and we're going to get an 11-12 world here. So now academic mastery looks at how many credits are kids earning, which again I like, because I was a high school principal, middle school principal, right? Kids that were successful, they had the right credits as they worked their way through. So the key, when we think about 9th grade on track, is not only do they have the number of credits that they need, but they're earning what I call the 2, 2, and 2. So getting their math credits, getting their language arts credits, and then getting some combination of credits. And you'll see how that plays out. And then we got tons, comparatively in some ways, lots of student success indicators. And again, I think, especially in a 9-12 school, this particular grade span is going to be really important, and where you can make a lot of points because of the way it works, right? We have college career coursework. So kids are doing, so think right now about your academic honors kids. That's what that coursework is looking like. And then we got CTE coursework, iLearn biology. I would wager across the state that that's not always a really high emphasized test, because it's not been a part of accountability. It's not been a part of other things. Now it's a success indicator. So you're going to think about that, right? Meet the benchmark on PSAT, attendance as well. So go ahead and flip to the next one here. Whew, now we're talking, here's a fun spreadsheet, right? Because there's, again, the best case scenario, probably very typical for you guys, right? They're above expectations, so they're earning all their credits. So especially those middle school kids who are coming with at least 2 credits, those count. And if for some reason you have kids earning 4, right, those count. So if they've got at least 14 credits and they've got the 2, 2, and 2, they're automatically at 75, right? And then we think about all the other ways they can do things, they're gonna move to the right pretty quickly.
How hard is it for a student to essentially change lanes, if you will, with their 3 tiers?
You're talking about up and down here?
Yes.
Yep. I mean, they're gonna measure it at the end of grade 9. So here's the point to get to. So let's say that I'm a student who was, I'm a pretty good student, but I didn't do well in one of those two or two classes. So I failed the second semester of freshman English, or maybe it was the first semester because, as I say, freshmen sometimes aren't really connected at that point, right? So even though they may have 13 credits, but they didn't get the right combination of 2, 2, and 2, but you do credit recovery, you do summer school, or in 10th grade, you double up on something.
Okay.
They're gonna go all the way back up to that at expectation. So when you see the second yellow level, so normally we're measuring academic mastery at the end of grade 9. For those students who are approaching or below expectation, we're also gonna measure at the end of grade 10. So again, where are my resources? Do we need a credit recovery program? Do we need to allocate these kinds of things? That's gonna be really important for those kids because I don't want them at 0 on my grade. And I also want them to earn credits because that goes towards graduation. So that's how that works. Then we get into 11, 12, and this is where we got even more complicated here. If we think back to the 2 points of emphasis, academic mastery and success indicators from that one of those initial slides, academic mastery here kind of gets measured 2 ways. It gets measured on the SAT, and it gets measured on the kind of diplomas or the kinds of seals as we think about our new diploma system as well. And this is where we get into a whole variety of cohorts. And then you see all those success indicators over there on the right. So the 4th one down there, I learned something this year. There is an I Learn U.S. government in the course assessment. Did you know that before I knew that?
No,
There we go. See, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
But that is now a success indicator. So I can guarantee you that lots and lots of schools did not give that assessment. Well, now you will, because that's a success indicator. So nobody measures, you'll be able to give it at different times, just like biology is as well. So then the SAT is going to be a academic mastery piece, but you see over there too, you've got ACT or CLT, which is classic learning test, as other success indicators. Now that is the fact that a family says, we want to take the ACT. They go out and they take it, those scores get reported to the DOE. If they meet the benchmarks, that's a success indicator as well. So in your CTE world, right, both in the 9-10 world and the 11-12 world, that's going to be really important. Not only in how they earn their seals, but also in the kinds of success indicators that are going to be measured. So if you want to flip to the next one, I think that's, go ahead and flip to the next one there. There we go. That's kind of a good way to look at it now. So there are 3 ways you're going to get points, and we don't need to do the math. And I was a math major. I don't even want to do the math on this one, right? Your grad rate is the federal grad rate, and that's 10%, and the target is 95%. We also see, because we have 2 diploma systems going right now, right? We have the academic honors diploma, core 40 diplomas right now. We also have kids that could be earning the new diploma and seals. So they provided a transition grid as well, where kids can earn that. But then you see down there how that final grade 12 score gets measured. So 80% is going to come from that fancy spreadsheet grid. 10% is SAT proficiency. And that's when you give your SAT during the school day at grade 11. So your current juniors They took the SAT. They didn't know it maybe at the time, but they were going to contribute to your school grade. And that's just an average of how many passed English and how many passed math. And then we get 80% from the grid. So if you flip there to the next one, I think, here's where it all comes together. So your current freshman is the cohort of 2029. That grade gets issued in 2030. So especially at the 11, 12 world, it's kind of a look back because of the way graduation works. But for every kid that you get an honors seal or then the honors plus seal, in terms of this points, you're easily moving up in your point totals. If you have students that are not getting those seals, then if you're thinking about the system, you're going to want to get them all the way to the right, if possible, with their success indicators. And it may happen, right? Because again, some kids are doing great. They're on track to get a seal. They're on track to get an academic honors diploma, and they don't pass that last class they need to get, or they don't earn the right grade in that last class. So they weren't failures at all. They just, something happened, right? That goes on. So your job is to get them as far to the right as possible, and how that works. And I think the next grid is the transition one. So again, looks very similar in terms of the 3 levels, but now it's looking at the general core 40 and then the honors diploma. So a fun fact is you're going to get school grades this late fall, October, November. So for K-3 and then your 4 to 8, all of that is based on your current year's data. So the iLearn scores, the iRead scores, all of that stuff, right? And the same is really true for your freshmen and sophomores, that 9-10 grade, right? In the 11-12 rule, the grad rate goes back to 2025 graduates. So that one was already set. Your grid points go back to 2025. That was already set. And then your SAT proficiency comes from your current year juniors of 2027. Now the next slide, go to the next slide. Trust me, right? Yeah, I had to map it out. Right? So if you think ahead to your 2027 grade for your 11-12 rule, right? Then you think about that, that's your current year graduates. So again, you were maybe thinking about seals, maybe couldn't get that far along with them, particularly, right? That'd be standard for most schools, right? So you're going to be weighting heavily on that transition grid. Your next year's juniors are that 2028 cohort. Philosophically, I wouldn't be doing SAT prep. I don't think that does a ton, unless you just do it for kids because it's good for kids. But trying to get 5 more kids to be proficient just for a very, very small amount of points, not a good strategy. And then you got your 10th grade cohort, right, which are your current freshmen. So I'm looking right now, speaking for him, I'm looking right now at any of my freshmen that are below or approaching proficiency in terms of credits. What do I need to do for them to make sure they're at proficiency, right? That was that yellow that you asked about there. So when I'm thinking about your level, that's what I'm thinking about for them as well. So there is accountability demystified, explained, and easily understandable. Again, the DOE is going to grab all the data. I talked to them today. They're getting closer to giving our principals a tool where you can grab your data, put it in, and with a fairly high level of accuracy, be able to say, this is the grade that we should get for this current school year, right? Or that 2026 accountability grade, looking into everything. And then you guys can think about what's the implications and what's the next things to do and such like that. So how about that?
And then if we have like principal of the year, that's like more points, right?
That
If you get that, that's like an automatic.
automatically next.
Yeah, like, they just give you those
You should have
points for
waited
that.
1 year.
No, we're going back.
We're gonna go back, yeah.
You're going back to 2025 for that one, for that one, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
more than happy to make that argument, as well. So,
Looks like a lot of work.
Yeah, does the board have any questions you would have for Dr. Best right now? Okay, I was just hoping that you're gonna show us the formula, and then you're gonna teach the board how to go through the mathematical formula for it.
well, again, the legal spreadsheets, and these two guys know it, when we talked about this concept at our fall conference in November, there was not complexity in some ways at particular points. So I truly did have a spreadsheet, and you could put in numbers and somewhat calculate a grade. And as soon as we saw the final rule, I just said, no way. Because especially if you're thinking about 11, 12, where you've got kids that are on the academic honors grid, core 40 grid, and I've got kids on the SEAL kinds of things, and I'm trying to go back, you should not be doing that. I really do tell our principals right now, don't worry so much about calculating a grade. And I know it's important. It's important to you, it's important to your community. I think more about helping my teachers understand why we're working on certain things, why we might be doing things a little differently for biology because it could help some kids in this kind of a world, why we're going to work on credit recovery at that 9-10 world, why we're going to put these things in place, and I'm going to take some staff time to make sure the 7th grade graduation plan is completed, signed by parents, all those things, because it's going to make a difference, right? Those are the kinds of things that I think they would need to worry about versus the math as well.
You said it comes out in October, November?
Publish.
Yeah, because this year they've got to do the psychometric work from our iLearn to calculate the growth. A very important person in your corporation too is whoever's doing your data. So in July 1, I think it is, you are gonna validate your data. You're gonna press a button that says, yes, everything is correct. Once that button is pressed, you're in. There's really no changing it at that point. So whoever's doing your data, communicating with your principals, superintendent, to know what that is really, really important. There's a second data grab in October, because that's when we grab all the summer school data, and we also certify our graduates, because they can be graduates up through that point. So when we've got to wait until October to get the final sets of data, that's another reason why grades will never come out early for schools. I know they intend to also, if we think about a school year, and you're done with IRE testing, that data can be put into the system. So then you can be looking at it, knowing what it looks like, making sure it's valid at that point. iLearn goes in, credits go in, all those kinds of things go in. So you can be massaging and looking at the data all spring long, so that when it comes to June and you're ready to make a final determination, yes, that's accurate, then you're much more certain about what it looks like as well. Yep.
Well, Dr. Best, we absolutely appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is
Thank you.
very informative.
My pleasure. Informative is a kind word. I appreciate it. Kudos to you to sit through that.
So we certainly appreciate the trip over here, educating the board, and this is the new reality that we're facing. So I appreciate that, and I've got a good team with me as we start to formulate that plan, get into next year. So I appreciate it a lot, Dr.
Of course, you're welcome.
Thank you so much
Thanks for
for
supporting
coming.
our principals, our leaders. It makes a big difference for us.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
very much.
You're welcome.
See you guys, thank you.
Yeah, get your candy, get your candy.
It's Jamie.
And then there were two.
Yeah.
I was like, it's packed in here.
And not so
It
much.
dwindles down really fast.
Yeah.
Let's see, I've got a power limited here soon.
We always encourage people to come, but for some reason.
Yeah. So next up, we have Lacey. Lacey's been fantastic. She's represented Baker Tilly, kind of showing us the illustrative financing that we went through before. I sent over some documents for our most recent facility study. Obviously, the numbers we're talking about right now, we're looking at wastewater project, we're looking at potential projects moving forward. So Lacey's gonna give us a really good overview as to what this looks like and what our next steps are.
Well, I got a couple of confessions first. So first of all, I was at the high school and I was standing outside and I'm like, where the heck?
Yeah.
Thankfully, so you have an email from me, a call, so my bad.
I'm sorry.
No, so apologies for my tardiness. Thankfully, a parent of one of the adorable students was over there too. And so I also drove around the entire school and still missed this. So apologies again for being late, but we figured it out.
Are you a Crawfordsville number?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
there we go.
That's me. Sorry, you're probably
You got it now.
spam.
Yep.
No, I hear that. But anyways, thanks for having me. As you said, I'm Lacey Vachon. I'm with Baker Tilly. So we serve as municipal advisor for the school corporation. Just as kind of a brief overview of what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to show your existing debt, and then we're going to your general obligation bonding capacity. And then we have one scenario tonight to show you guys. I do want to preface with, if there's anything you want us to change, any additional updates you want us to make, any questions, feel free to stop me as I go. I want this to be super informal, super interactive. So yeah, let's get into it. So as you said earlier about spreadsheets, and we do a lot of those, but I like colors as well. So we hopefully it'll keep you awake. But this first is a graph of your current outstanding debt. So you guys do have 7 bonds outstanding currently. A couple things I want to point out. So as you can see, from 26 to 27, there is a drop there. So definitely ability to bring on some additional debt, kind of maintaining the level of where it's been historically. And then there's another larger drop from 2034 to 2035, with all of your debt being repaid by 2038. So it's just kind of like currently outstanding, just kind of the framework within what's currently there. So go on to the next slide. So this is the detail behind the graph. If you're more of a numbers person, you kind of like to get down to the details. Again, just pointing out that from 26 to 27, there is that drop from around $2 million in payments to about 1.5 million. And then you have that large drop, as I spoke about earlier, dropping from 1.3 million in, 2034, and it drops to about 630,000 in 2035. So just kind of showing you do have debt rolling off, so there is ability to bring on new debt, staying kind of at the historical levels that you guys have been at.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So we got probably a bond that's gonna be, finishing up here shortly. Is there one that we have to where it might be an advantage? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Refunding?
There you go.
Refunding, yeah. So I think, I was gonna look at that, and that's something that I'll send to Andy as a list of those, because I know you have a couple that are, that should be callable and ability to refund. We just need to see what those dates are. And see if they're, but that is something we monitor. We have a system that we monitor all schools and kind of those refundings. So that's something we can get to Andy, just like which ones least, I think it's probably, I'm gonna guess it's probably 2018, the 2023s, for sure, I would say, without looking, but we can check into that. Because normally, if it's a 20-year bond, we always recommend a call date of about 10 years.
But is it usually like towards the end of it, or just like interest right here, and it's like, man, if I did that, I eliminate all that.
Yeah, we're also looking at that. We want to provide as much savings to the school as possible. So that is something we're monitoring. I just didn't get a chance to write those down, but I will get that to Andy, because that's a very good question, a very good point. So yeah, we'll get that information to him to share with you all.
Yeah.
Okay. So next slide, general obligation, debt limitation. So this is just state statute, it's a calculation. We take your latest assessed value, which right now is 2026. We divide by 30 times 2%. Gives us a little over 2.6 million for Wes-Del.
but we have to subtract your current general obligation debt, which we have footnoted what that includes, your general obligation bonds and that HVAC loan. That was moved from operations to debt service last year. So that gets us to a little over 1.1 in GO capacity. Simply what that means is that's, which you guys have both. You have general obligation debt and you have first mortgage bonds. So we're just saying, okay, based on what we're looking at tonight, it's over that threshold of the 1.1 billion. So you would be looking at doing a lease financing for anything over the 1.1, which just means there would be just a couple additional things like a building corporation that would be involved in those types of things. It wouldn't be in the name of the school. Instead, it would be in the name of the building corporation. So that's the point of this slide, just to kind of let you know where you're at with the general obligation debt. So the next slide, so as I spoke about earlier, we are showing one scenario here tonight. We're showing $10 million based on discussions with Andy. I know you guys had a facility study done, and then kind of the wastewater that I know might be covered by, you know, and all that. But just kind of taking all these factors into consideration, we came up with 10 million. We assumed a 20-year repayment, 19 years, 3 months to be exact, but you can't go over 20 years. 20 years is the max you can issue a bond for. And the estimated interest expense for that, we're estimating to be a little over 6.9 million. That is at 5% interest rates. I did run this, like if you sold it today, what would that potentially look like? And it would be around 4%. To kind of show you the buffer that's built in, so there's a whole basis point built into that. So that means we would estimate actually that interest expense to be lower today if you had a sale today. So just kind of explaining that we do build in some buffer there. So that last line, so this is something I want to spend just a little bit of time on, but we're estimating the increase to your debt service levy to be 0. So that means that the property tax levy in 2026, we're holding that the same in 2027. So we're not increasing what you're asking for in property taxes. We've kind of shifted from being tax rate focused, holding tax rate constant, kind of across the state of Indiana with a lot of our clients. We've shifted to a levy focus. Now, why have we been doing that? Well, as I'm sure you all know, so SCA 1, as that's come on, there's potential that assessed values are going to go down. So if you think about assessed value, and you think about tax rates, they have an inverse relationship. So if your assessed value does go down, we would assume that your tax rate would go up, even keeping your levy the same. So we've shifted like, okay, what are the controllables for a school corporation? Like what are things that you all can control? And really, the levy is what you have control over. You do not have control over your assessed value. And we just don't know what that's gonna look like. But the assumption is that assessed values will decline.
And one thing I'd like to add on that is, historically speaking, we've seen assessed values for over the last 10 years gradually increase. So, and what we're seeing now with all the legislation, we're going to see some decreases, and that's where that fear comes in. So we want to look at the levy opposed to what the rate is. And I assume it looks like historically speaking, we've always done rate here at Wes-Del. So this is new. So we need to be in tune with that, especially with the impact we're facing right now.
So you are going to look at it with the anticipation of assessed values going down?
So in our assumption, so when we think about the resolutions, think about like when you guys have to do preliminary termination hearings and those types of things. We assume that your assessed value is the same. We assume we go with the latest assessed value that we have action on hand. We don't use any projections. But I know you guys use policy analytics. And on the next slide, it's going to show with policy analytics projections, the tax rate line, and it's also going to show a levy line. So if you just want to, that might help kind of explain. So this is using policy analytics projections, and based on their assessed value projections, they do have your assessed value going down, as discussed, pretty much through SCA 1. You can see though the levy line, which is kind of that dashed line that goes. So like I said, we're holding that levy constant, really through 2034. And you kind of think about it as your payments drop, as your total payments drop, your levy drops. So those are pretty correlated with each other. When your total payments goes down, your levy goes down.
But only if we don't add any more, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Yes.
Because more than likely
yes.
we will.
If you filled in that, yes, you would give it this.
Just want to make sure.
Yep. No, good. Yeah. Good clarification. But really just kind of looking at it on, again, we don't know, we don't wanna make, when we're thinking about kind of setting maximum preliminary determination hearings and those types of things, we wanna use the information that we have, that we know that is certified assessed value, so we use the latest, and we calculate off that, and like in your resolutions, it's written in that way, where it'll say, you know, kind of the tax rate associated with the latest assessed value, which right now is 2026. But then there will be another line that talks about, you know, but as debt rolls off and obligations, all this, your levy increase will be 0. So there's like a couple lines in there. So when we're thinking about it, we're not assuming anything else. We're not projecting with those numbers. With this, we wanted to show if that happens though, if policy analytics numbers come to fruition, if they're exact and right on the money, your tax rate potentially will go up as we're showing. Because of that relationship, it's just math. And that's why we're saying you don't have control over what happens.
Yeah, it kind of goes opposite.
Yep, inverse relationship. Yep.
Exactly. So assessed value goes down, rate goes up.
Yep.
And vice
And
versa.
vice versa. Yeah, it's just a math equation. But we wanted to bring that to your attention when you're thinking about just communicating and with the community and all of those things that could happen.
Yeah, because and if we've followed our practice in the past, which, and I understand it, always go by rate, you maintain that rate, and if you see that assessed value go down, you're gonna have less
Your
money.
levy's gonna go down.
You're gonna have less money to actually be able to use. So that's where that inverse relationship comes into play.
See, I would think that, this is my gut feeling, that we're gonna see a lower assessment, is my gut feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're hearing. That's
But
what
I
I
gotta do
think
a
too.
policy.
But yeah, we don't know. We don't wanna make any.
Yeah, so yeah, we don't have a crystal ball, but the outlook with SEA 1 and everything looks at 2 to 3 years of impact, and we're seeing those trends. And by year 3, the percentage increases. So it's the impact's gonna be over a 3-year period, of which we've seen already this year, so.
Right. So I just wanted to
So
comment.
did I, just real quick,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Am I doing my math right? I guess when I see a number, this kind of gets to me there. So I know we're talking $10 million.
Yep.
And you're looking at 20 years. You
Yep.
got interest of 6 million, it's almost 7
Yep.
million. So are we looking at 300?
Oh, like turn on annual payments, trying to figure out annual payments.
Yeah, I mean, are we looking at somewhere, I mean, it just seems like a lot of interest.
There's a lot of interest.
And I guess I don't want to take anything away. What's the advantage? Because I haven't seen a $10 million bond from the school. I could be wrong, but it seems like, and I don't want to see a small one because I know all the administrative costs. But and I know that's up to what we spend it on, but it just seems like a big chunk of interest each year going towards that.
So the payments, so how we kind of have it structured, because we also have it structured around your current existing debt. But those first few years are around 600,000, like through 2034. And then they're higher towards the end because you have more debt falling off
Right.
towards the end, so they get higher. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of interest expense. It's a 20-year term and it's $10 million. That was kind of the other thing. So when we, kind of those gray bars are your existing debt, and then the teal is, this issuance. And you can see there's like a barber shop looking pole on there. And we are estimating that there may need to be a little bit of capitalized interest as well to kind of
Awesome.
keep, yeah. So yes, to your point, yes, there is quite a bit of interest. But we wanted you to be able to accomplish the needs that you need.
Yeah, and just and for clarity, just for the board's sake, the reason that we came to the 10 million, and I want to be clear with all the decisions, is we have the wastewater project, of which there's a potential for funding. And when I talked to Lacey and everybody with Baker Tilly and Ice Miller, I said, where I'm at right now is I'm gonna assume we're not getting any money.
Right.
So I'm playing devil's advocate with where we're at. The assumption is we don't get any support, and then we still have the wastewater project. So we have the wastewater project, which is roughly 5.2 million, and then we have the facility study. The facility study is not, it's not necessarily substantiated numbers. Those are pretty loose numbers they gave us. But the reality is we've got a number of projects that need to be accomplished. So kind of where we're at right now is this is what we're looking at. So we've got 5.2, and arguably, I mean, with the facility study, it was around 7. we would exceed that 10 million. So there's no way to get all the projects done regardless. So, so where I'm at is, looking at this $10 million mark, and you can help me out with it. This would, do we still go through petition and remonstrance through this
You're
option?
subject to it. You're
Subject to-
petition or remonstrance.
And then the next would be
The next would be
referendum.
subject to referendum.
Yeah.
Which again, Miller would go into detail, but yes,
Yeah.
that's kind of part of the,
Yeah.
it's not exceeding the 10 million.
Yeah, so and does that make sense to you guys? Like,
So we're below that.
yeah, so
Yeah,
if
you're
you went referendum, it would be about,
Subject to
yeah.
petition.
So the only thing that we do is an extra 30 days, is that correct, Lacey, with that?
Yeah.
So then that would provide an opportunity, but yeah, so, looking at the 10 million is, the intent would be knock out what wastewater, or sorry, wastewater, and then try to knock out these projects. And like I told the board, we've got a number of things. The issue is we've done a lot of upgrades in 2004, and we're hitting the life expectancy of all set equipment. The equipment still works. I want to be honest about that, but what I'm looking at would be the back end, having, and no offense to Resolve Tech, but the amount of money we're paying to
Upgrade, fix, and keep going.
just keeping all of our stuff up and running. If it's past its life expectancy, we're just throwing money at it at this point.
And the other thing too is, when you start going through the preliminary termination, those types of things, really setting maximums. So
Right.
you decide you don't want to issue the full 10 million or something like that, you don't have to issue all of it either.
Yeah, we can back off of it, and then we can say, well, we just need HVAC here, and that's where we start talking with architects and the planning and figure out how we can bring that number down. So the reality is we set with 10 million saying, can we accomplish both projects? And then, so that's where we're at.
Good questions. Good questions. Okay, so then the last slide, so again, this is everything I pretty much already discussed in number form, but kind of the first column showing your existing debt payments, and then adding in that $10 million, and then you can see those payments with the capitalized interest in that first year. And then you have the total combined annual payments. So you can see those, and then kind of the corresponding levy. So again, going back to your graph, holding your levy constant. We're, keeping it the same as 2026. But those assessed values are from policy analytics on the far right. So if those do come to fruition and those are on money, then your estimated debt service tax rate to the right, you can see your tax rate would go up based on assessed value going down. Really all the way through 2031 as SCA 1 rolls on.
Now, Lacey, just for clarity for the
Yeah,
board or anybody in the community,
Yeah.
Are we seeing a lot of districts go to that levy opposed to rate?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
So
all.
I just want them to know, because I've always went rate. This would be the first time I ever looked at levy, and it was because I want to be a good steward of tax dollars and make, no one wants to hear a tax rate
No,
increase.
exactly.
So I just want to be clear. So if you guys have questions on that, please ask, because we really haven't seen something like this legislatively in a little, since I've been a superintendent, it's my fifth year. So this is kind of new. We got to figure out what that looks like. So there will be questions from the community. There will be, which is fair, it's fair, but it's just, we're looking at these assessed values, and the landscape has changed substantially in a year.
Yeah, it has, I've been at a utility, I think, for almost 7 years, and we've always kind of done tax rate strategy since I've been here. And I'm sure years before then as well, so it's a transition for everyone. But it is kind of our recommendation to all of our clients moving forward, especially through SCA 1, and then, who knows, maybe we'll switch, it could switch back. I mean, it's not forever, but I think as of now, it's the strategy we recommend to clients. And that is all I have.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys, great questions, and I'll get the refunding information sent over to Andy. That's easy, I just need a little question to look those up.
Yeah.
So we have that information. If there's any follow-ups.
Yeah, and what I'll do, board, is I'll share the presentation that we went through tonight, so you guys can look at it, you can get the links, and also Mr. Bess's presentations, you can get those hyperlinks. And then if you have questions, like I said, my biggest thing is to be able to answer those questions. She's gonna help us a lot. We appreciate it a lot, Lacey.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Now I know it's here. I know I'm learning.
Well, we certainly appreciate it, and safe travels.
Thank you.
I get to a little home, so.
We do appreciate you coming up and taking the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, moving on. We've got some donations to recognize. We're looking for some approval for the donations to the Wes-Del Elementary Backpack Program. Bethel Church donated $750. Gaston Main Street Church donated $156, and Mount Olive Community Church donated $300. And then we also have a donation from Whitetails Unlimited, $4,500 to the elementary archery program, which we want to recognize and appreciate them all for doing that, but we do need approval of these donations.
I motion.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those donations have been approved, and once again, we really
Thank you
appreciate
for
those
those.
donations. It makes a big difference in those programs.
It does.
All right, so spring musical stipend. We are asked to consider recommendation from Mr. Stover to provide $575 stipend to Mrs. Love, Mrs. Fulton, and Ms. Taylor for their work in the spring musical. These funds are supplied through their own ECA.
So they reached out to me, they've got the funds in there, they put a lot of time into it, and I'm a big steward towards if you're putting the time in and you're not getting paid and compensated for it, and they can manage their budget, let them do it. So we got 3 people that put a lot of work into it. And like I said, I didn't have the opportunity to go to this play, unfortunately, this when my grandmother passed, but Mr. Malco said he went, and I'll tell you, everybody's actually incredible.
Yes,
So
they do a great job.
a very good job. So yeah, our artists are doing really good.
Yeah, so we're just looking for approval of that.
Motion to approve the spring musical stipends.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That has been approved. Okay, so we've got a school lunch price adjustment. Mrs. Turnbull is recommending raising the meal price for 2026-2027 school year by 20 cents.
Just CPI index, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's this the interest, I mean, not interest,
Cost of everything.
cost of everything. So, and then that's one thing where I'm working with Ms. Turnbull to work on our budget for that. So 20 cents is gonna help us out substantially, even though it seems like it's a small amount, it's gonna help.
But, yeah, I'm sure this has been asked before, but I don't remember the answer. What would it cost us for us to have free lunches?
Free, so you have to qualify for CEP.
I mean, free lunches.
For us to pay it as a full, or.
Yeah, just everybody wants lunch goes and gets one. There ain't no signing up or what's this?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And we're over half free and reduced, right? I guess what I'm saying is, I don't get how.
Those are federal funds that are.
Yeah, so we do get reimbursements. There's commodity-based foods. There's a lot of complexity. I wouldn't be able, like Casey would be much better than I to answer those. But I will tell you that on a monthly basis, we probably spend somewhere between 15 and 20,000 on food items. Obviously, that would include breakfast and lunch, but it would be a substantial amount of money.
Which they're still getting free breakfast, I believe, right?
Yes. So there's a number of programs out there. As I said, the CEP program is more based on SNAP, TANF, low income type deal. So you'd have to apply for it and go through that process. But yeah, I don't have a specific number, but I can get that to you, Larry, if that's something.
Yeah, I just, seems like we have such a high number on it. I just didn't know what would be, I mean.
How close
You
we
mean the
are
kids
to
that are
that.
on that?
So if we have 25% that's paying,
Yeah.
we're down
What's
to
that
that.
threshold? And the state, and I don't know the threshold off the top of my head, but I believe it's like 70 or 75%. My previous district was an entire K through 12 free lunch and breakfast. But it's not that, it's all based on your demographic. I can certainly talk to Ms. Turnbull and figure out where we're at. But I just don't believe our percentage is quite to where it should be, like with that.
I guess what I was thinking is if it wasn't terribly expensive, just kick in the rest of it and just make it easy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the people that have to pay.
Yeah,
So it's not only the food items though, because when we collect the money for the food, obviously we're paying for the food we're purchasing. But the other thing is the overhead for the salary and the benefits of those employees. So we use some of that, that revenue coming in to pay for those employees. I can certainly, and I get where you're going. I have no issue with looking in to see what we can do to lessen that burden for families. I was a free and reduced lunch kid myself growing up, so I understand that. So, let me look into it later.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a very good question though.
I'm okay with the price adjustment, I was just asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
So you're making,
My motion to approve.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that has been approved. Summer school recommendations, we have a list of teachers for summer school. I don't know, you want me to run through it? Ms. Bannister for kindergarten, Mr. Nanny for first grade, Ms. Whitniger for second, Ms. Freeman for third, Mr. Lamb for language arts, Ms. Nauman for fourth and fifth grade. So we're just needing approval for those
Yeah, we
summer
just,
school positions.
yeah, and it's just mainly approval so we can submit to the state, and we do get compensated from the state to have those teachers do enrichment in the summer.
This is,
Motion,
I'm sorry, this is based upon, the need from the students that are behind that need to
Yeah.
attend. So
Yeah.
that's how the teachers were determined to.
Yeah,
request.
and there's a need there, and then also, in the event that we don't have any IRE 3 students, whether they be second or third grade, there's enrichment, and there would be a summer test you could take to increase that percentage. We still have a ton of kids in that realm, but yeah, it gives an opportunity for enrichment.
motion to approve the school, summer school recommendations.
Is there a second?
I make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That has been approved. Tecumseh.
Tecumseh.
The elementary is seeking approval for that trip again for next year. Was last year the first year they've done that?
I believe.
I think it was the first year.
And I believe it was this fall, I think it was all paid for, was that right?
Yeah.
And it looks like we had a lot of donations on this one as well, so the students, it only costs $20
Yeah.
for all the kids, and it's originally 72, so that's huge. And I don't know, we might get more donations to hopefully drive that cost down even more.
All right. So we're just looking for approval for that, field trip.
My motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That has also been approved. All right, a resolution for enrollment of transfer students.
So I have a resolution for transfer students. What I have on the sheet is K through 12. The numbers are arbitrary. I put 100 per grade level. My hope would be that we get to 100 kids per grade. That'd be awesome. But it's less about the number K through 12. It's more so about the language in terms of transfers. Because one thing that we want to make sure is we don't have behavioral issues coming in the district. So it's more so about suspensions, expulsions, A, B, C, D at the bottom there, just so for causing physical injury to a student, alcohol, like that helps us when we have to turn a kid away. Like we're like, hey, like you've got, we've got a history on this, we can't accept you. So this is just a policy that helps me as we look at approving or denying this request.
I did have one question because you said physical on there. We're in a time and frame where you get a lot of bullying going on. Is that incorporated in with this policy?
Like an emotional,
Yeah,
physical?
or is that something that's not because it says physical on there?
Very good question. And in the state of Indiana, when we have bullying concerns like that, we do put that in our student information system. So if we have a kid that we don't know, we can reach out to the sending district and say, hey, do you have any disciplinary logs on said student? Those bullying concerns, those things would all come up on there. Is they'll basically put any instance where that kid went to the office, whether it be good or bad, and you have everything. So we can look at that transcript and say, this doesn't seem like a great idea for Wes-Del.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only question I have is it says it must establish the request before June 30th or 2026, which maybe I misread that. Is June 30th the cutoff date for a transfer kid? I mean, every year?
So we have that date. We put that date in place just to make sure we get families to bring them in, because the last thing we want is like the last week of July getting those letters. So the parents are really good. So we've reached out to our current families or transfers. We've been getting those letters for the last 2 months. So we reach out to our current families and make sure we get those letters back. So we try to get ahead of it. The June 30th deadline is just just to make sure people get the documents in.
Is there the need to make it where if we have a move in or something, we can make an exception?
Oh, yeah. So what I do is, so this is the way it works is like, typically I don't look at the transfer first. I send to the billing level. So what it'll do is I'll send it to Todd or Adam and let them look through everything. And then I have the ultimate approval. So they'll sign off on whether they want to accept that student or not. Then it comes to me and then I'll do my second check on it and we'll go from there. But let's say we get someone in September. I mean, we have people that want to transfer all the time. So we look at that on a per need basis. So even though we got the June 30th deadline on there's gonna be a family that knocks on the door in September or October.
Okay, I just want to make sure we let.
That's like the
Yeah.
more for transfer students.
Transfer's not
Yeah.
now. If they move to the district. they-
Yeah.
they-
Yeah, they live here. So
Okay,
Just in
I
general.
guess I just think somebody moved out from out of state.
No,
or
it's more
something.
the ones that are living in another school district and
Okay.
want to come here.
So we still have the option,
Yeah,
we're still capable
yeah.
you just have to give our current ones a day before, like you said.
Yeah,
You'll have
it's
to
just,
pay.
yeah, and what we do, we push those out, so, yeah, we try to get that as a deadline, so we get those back, and then plus with the June 30th deadline, that allows us to get an estimate on the figure for the number of kids for next year.
of. I just don't push up in the box.
Oh, I know, that's a very good point.
All right, if there's no more questions or discussions, we just are looking for approval of this recommendation of transfer students.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That has been approved. All right, moving on, resolution of board policy developmental system,
Okay, so,
development system.
development, yes, so, it's all right.
And my eyes are like,
So we are going through a board policy development system, and really what that means is we're gonna be recoding all of our policies. So, in the past, we've had kind of a hybrid. We've had Neola policies, we've had NES School Board Association policies. And the reality is some of the policies are old, outdated. When we get audited, every audit that I go through, they ask for policy. So if I get a financial audit, they're gonna say, what's your internal controls policy? What's your, so, and, fill the blank. So, really, this is gonna allow us, to do better on audits, also make sure that we're in compliance, in all areas. And with all the legislative updates, I mean, we just heard a couple just in that meeting. This is gonna be a good way for one, we're all educated on the policies. It's not that it's Mr. Stover's gonna, throw these out. They're all based on Indiana code and recommendations from.
Is there a certain format that you're gonna look at? Like, I know before you talk about like ISBA, like reference before.
Yeah,
Something.
so the format is gonna be very easy for the public or even the board. Because the issue that we have now is like, if you look up a board policy, it's PO 3845.26, like, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through A through H and make it super easy. So what they'll do is basic common, school board governance, students, and so each one of those areas will have the categories within those. So as we progress through the development system of the board policies, we'll have somewhere between 10 and 20 policies each month. And per our governance and our bylaws, we have to have a first reading and a second reading. And honestly, for you guys, from the board, from the community's perspective, I think it's good to do 2 readings, just so if there is a question or something, we can answer those. So this is just for the policy development system.
I motion.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that has been approved. Moving on to resolution for HB 1003, flexibility waiver.
Okay, so HB 1003 flexibility waiver, we look at it on a yearly basis. This is something that this board has approved or signed off on for 3 or 4 years. We've been a rural transformation zone school, and we also did some STEM programming. The reality is this allows us to have late starts. So if you guys remember, we approved the school calendar February, March. So we have, I believe, 8 late starts built into the schedule. This allows us to be able to do that because the state needs the waiver for us just to show that we're meeting the minimum amount of minutes needed. So we're meeting the minutes, but we're also doing 2-hour late starts. So that just allows us to do those.
The only thing I've seen, Andy, is it says, would like to request 10, and then in parentheses, it's got 6.
Very good, very good.
I just saw that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because, and that's on me. Originally, we had 10 on here. It would only be 6 days. Where's the 10 at, Larry?
Third
That's
paragraph.
Right under
Request
additional
report.
time.
Yep. Request 10.
Oh, 10, yeah. Oh, well, this is what we'll do. So just make a note of that. I'll make sure that this is all in the right documentation when we sign it. But yes, it should be 6. I had 10 on there originally.
I tried to count though, there would be 10, wasn't there? There's one a month.
Yeah, we missed a few months because of December, Christmas, spring break. We don't have it during March.
Okay.
So there's 2 other months mixed in there that we just can't get them accomplished.
All right.
So it's 6, not 10, and that's a typo on my end.
Okay, we're just looking for a motion.
Motion to approve the flexibility waiver.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that has been approved. We have several board policy updates, listed and available for our first reading of these, updates. As Mr. Stover had stated, we are looking to really kind of update and get cohesive on our policies. So, there's a list of, I didn't count them, but there's several for the first reading.
Yep, so we have 11 policies we're updating, and like I said, we're going through the entire board policy. So, so today we've got all the policies, but then in addition to policies, we also have a couple of things. We have associated AGs, which is administrative guidelines, and then we also have associated forms. So one of the associated guidelines, those are pretty much the forms that go with the policy. So I guess my question is, how much explanation do you want me to go on each one of these policies? I can go really deep in the weeds on this.
We can read them, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're all available. So I'll just give you a general overview. A275 is school wellness. We have to have a wellness committee that's composed of a number of different individuals. We have to meet twice a year. The associated administrative guideline is exactly that. It lays out USDA guidelines. There's nutritional facts. So all of that would be the school wellness. So making sure we have that implemented. A300 is responsible use of technology, and that's exactly what it implies. So one thing we have is we've got an associated AG that dives in the weeds as to if a student breaks a device, collections of device, how you should use the device, and the do's and don'ts of all things devices.
School owned or individually owned, or all the above?
All the above. All the above. So because you also are looking at a network, you're looking at, using a network. So there's
cell phone.
Yeah, cell phones, watches, whatever the.
Yeah.
I want to say,
Mhm.
same thing with wireless. What's that? Sorry.
No, he was asking if there's probably.
Ray-Ban.
Yeah, there's all kinds.
Wireless communication devices, once again, we had legislation that has updated to where we have to I believe it was signed yesterday.
Mhm.
So the governor signed the bill for bell to bell. So bell to bell meaning first bell in the morning, last bell at night, cannot have phones out in the open. So we're working through that. We have some language that we'll be pushing out, but the reality is cell phones are outside, out of mind. So, and I'll have more language on that once we look at our handbooks. So once we start developing the handbooks and having that, which will be next month, we'll have that language in there. But it's not just Wes-Del, that's across the state, and that's a state law.
I was gonna say, are we adopting something there or are we making our own policy on that?
So on the policy itself, there's a little bit of gray area. So I think that where we're at is having the cell phone with the kid, but in their backpack, outside, out of mind at all times. And then there would be like if a kid were to have a phone, we would just have the parent come pick up the phone from the school.
Yeah, because I think the state said it was up to the individual school districts whether they could allow them on property. I mean, because some of them, you have the option of just saying, no, they can't be here at all.
So
We have to write our own policy.
Yes.
We gotta make it meet.
Or some
Yes.
they tournament at the beginning of school and it's like in a locked bag. And then they-
Yeah, so the reality is, you got people on both sides, and I understand both sides of it. But what I don't want to do is keep a cell phone from a kid coming to school, because if they have after-school activities and things like that, or, there's a number of things. So we will make sure we're in compliance with the law, but we don't have the handbook.
set.
Yeah, so we're working through that.
And that will be pushed out before the school year.
Yes. So we'll make sure, and then we'll start the year off on a strong note, making sure we uphold that. So,
So there's one other thing you mentioned, and I'm not up to date on stuff like that, your watch.
yeah, watch as well.
Is it included in the language of the?
Yes, so watches.
Wireless device.
Yeah, so that's what they're saying, because.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, wireless device. So you're talking anything that falls under that realm. So very good point, Gary. We also have, F-100 internal controls.
Transfer, translate.
All of that. Yeah, they have.
I mean, they translate for people.
It's gonna be
A mess.
Internal controls, this is a big one. Long story short, internal controls, you need to make sure that someone else is checking your work, signing off on that. So that comes down to our audits. When we have state board of accounts in here, I need to make sure that I check Teresa checks me, we sign off on it, and there's layers to make sure that there's not embezzlement or whatever, anything like that. So we need to make sure there's internal controls. We do take a test each year. That's laid out in the language as well. So we have to maintain our internal controls. And then if we didn't have good internal controls, you would see that on state board account audit saying Mr. Stover didn't have this internal control, or, so that would be the effect of that. F-125 is purchasing procedures and capital assets. The capital assets are items that are above a certain threshold. That threshold on here is $5,000. So, let me dive into it. Let's see. So we have a couple different areas. We have micro purchases and things like that. The biggest one for us would be the capital assets. So we are working with AdTech. AdTech goes through and they inventory all of our assets. So one thing that we've had in the past was our policy used to state there was $500 for a capital asset. That threshold is way too low, because if you had a company come in here and put a barcode on everything that's worth $500 or more, everything's be tagged. So what we're doing is we're going to $5,000, which would be less tags, but it also allows us to be compliant and keep track of all those items. So over the summer, we will do an entire capital asset inventory of everything in the district in the month of June. But we had to make sure that we had a $5,000 threshold on that.
Within that, is there going to be some type of an assessment of those items being $5,000 for their usage and wear and tear and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
So this is a way you can track and monitor it.
Bingo. Yeah. And so Teresa, and to be honest with you, like, we don't have as many staff members in the central office, and Teresa's been manning that shit for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So she, we bought this, and she keeps track of it. I'm like, so we're getting it to where it's all cleaned up, and then it also gives us, okay, what's the true value of this 1964 area? Okay, it's $10. Okay, so so that'll help us know what the costs are as well.
My battery running low.
Okay, use of credit cards. This outlines our use of credit cards, corporation credit cards. Also, we have collection of forgiveness and bad debt. One thing that we haven't done a great job with, and I'm not going to claim that we're dead. I don't want to live in that world, but we have lost out on a lot of broken and misused items. So we've been working on collection of forgiveness of that debt, and working with a company, a creditor company, to be able to recover that. Unpaid meal policy, that's just repaying the debts that we have, and we also have an unpaid meal policy checklist. So if you were to hit that link right there, that's a checklist that Casey can use to go through or give it to families if they have unpaid bills. We also have investment income, F200, so this would be investment income for the district. And this talks about our securities, talks about making sure that we have a federal agency. There's a number of things in that realm. Also, money market mutual funds rated AAM or the equivalent. So just making sure that we have everything in place and we're not making bad financial decisions. Crowdfunding, once again, this has been a newer topic. Crowdfunding, only use crowdfunding sites, services that have been vetted and approved. So they would have to make sure that these are approved by me. And this has came up since the advent of
GoFundMe.
bingo, GoFundMe. So a lot of people will use your image or your likeness and say, hey, I work for, well, you better ask me before you do that, because if you don't work for us, so the issue is a lot of people have taken advantage of crowdfunding in the wrong light. So crowdfunding, and then we also have travel expenses. This is a fairly short one. And the validity of payments for job-related expenses shall be determined by business department. That would be Teresa, when it comes through. And then staff members who attend professional meetings. The language is all the same that we've had. So so tonight, I do not need an approval on these. This is just a first reading. If you want more information, you guys have access to this. If the community wants more information, they can have access to this. The reality is we're just going through Indiana code, and this is not like I've wrapped my hand around and this is Mr. Stover's world. This is from Churchill Antrim, who is a premier attorney firm, and they're giving us the guidance that we should follow.
So yes, no action needed on that tonight. We'll take care of that next meeting. Last new business is Wes-Del administrative contract updates.
Okay, I'm just looking for approval for Wes-Del admin contracts. The contracts don't include me. I'm not asking for myself. This would be for the 5 individuals: high school principal, high school assistant principal, elementary principal, and elementary assistant, as well as AD. So we got five positions on there. I'm asking for a renewal for all of those contracts for 2 years. And we do have an addendum to the principal contracts for a cell phone stipend. So the cell phone stipend's $1,200 for the year, and then it would just be $100 payment on once a month they can pay towards their cell phone bill.
Okay.
Was everything up? The reason I got asked, this wasn't on there when I read the report. I didn't print it at all.
Yeah.
So is there any changes? I mean, I think.
Oh, no.
I get to read.
No, no, there has not been any changes. So when I sent it out to you guys a month ago, that was a mistake on my part. You weren't here yet. I tried to go down the table and say, hey, I didn't have this on the board pack. That was on me. So I haven't changed anything from what I sent to you guys.
Sent to us when?
Like a month ago, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Is it already been emails?
I must have missed that one too.
So if you
So the amendments or whatever, those were the ones that we, I think, put into place last time or whatever.
Yeah.
With Kyle. And then, like he said, the only thing that was added to those were the.
And if you-
Cell phone.
what's that?
The only thing that's been added is cell phone.
Cell phone, and then the increase in salary, yes.
Yeah, this was the one.
I can't go forward.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve these?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those have been approved. All right, moving on to superintendent's report.
I've talked a lot. I think that we're good. I think I'm good.
Okay. All right, well, we did have a very successful STEM day today over there, for at least the part I saw. I mean, it's always amazing to see what they do. So that was a great accomplishment. Okay, moving on to board comments. Mr. Matt.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Carrie?
Same thing, STEM Day was wonderful. What was really neat, I thought, was the fact of seeing students that just graduated, obviously over at Purdue, which is wonderful, but they were back in assisting on some of the booths there. So that was very, very neat. At the age of 19, that would not be on my radar. So I thought that was pretty good for them to do that. The play was incredible. The stage was, it was at another level. The sound system made a huge difference on the whole act itself. The music in the choir, as well as the display for the art that they had in the gymnasium. Half the gymnasium was attended full. And it was just neat to see the amount of students involved in that there. So, yeah, big highlights there.
Shane?
We are weeks away from the 2026 graduating class.
Yeah.
This year has went very fast. So I know there's a lot of parents that are out there that are trying to put together the graduation plans. So 2026 is nearly over. So that's all.
I was just gonna mention about the assembly. I didn't get to go today, but I know my daughter came home and she loves all the things, and it's so great that they're like elementary, come over and see that, because I think when they first started, it was only a couple grades, and then each year it grows. So I know all the kids really love and enjoy that, and congratulations to our kids that came and spoke tonight, and keep up the good work at everywhere, because we're doing good things. So
The end of the year gets busy, so there's a lot of great things going on, and again, we always appreciate it. Any opportunity for them to come in and share personally what they're doing and what the way they're shining for us. So we just appreciate everybody's efforts, and if there's no other comments or concerns, we're just looking to move to adjourn the meeting.
A motion.
second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for the meeting to be come to an end.
He stayed the entire time, 2 hours on that.
He's like, oh, now we owe
Hey,
you.
laptop drove me.
We're
We need to figure out what time we gotta be at graduation.